Welcome to Neutron Nomad. The skies above Asgard roared louder than ever before. A storm, unlike any seen in the Nine Realms, tore through the heavens. Thor, son of Odin, stood on the Bifrost Mjolnir, crackling with lightning in his hand. But this was no ordinary storm. This was the Storm Serpent Jörmungandr, breaking free from the depths of the world sea. Brought forth by Loki's dark sorcery, the serpent coiled around the skies, its body blotting out stars, its hiss louder than thunder. Asgard's defences fell one by one. The Einherjar were crushed, the golden towers shattered, and Loki stood laughing, commanding the beast to devour all. Thor's fury burned brighter than his storm. He struck the ground, summoning a tidal wave of lightning across the battlefield. But Jörmungandr's scales absorbed the power, hurling it back at him. Thor staggered, but he roared, "By Odin's beard, I am no mere warrior. I am the god of thunder." The battle raged across realms. Thor soared through the skies, striking with Mjolnir again and again, each blow like a mountain collapsing. Jörmungandr countered with its venom, burning through Asgard's walls. When the serpent wrapped its colossal body around Thor, crushing his ribs, the god's eyes glowed white with pure rage. He spun Mjolnir so fast it became a storm itself, ripping the sky apart. The explosion of lightning tore the serpent's grip loose. But Loki was not done. He summoned an army of shadow warriors from hell, their blades forged in darkness. Thor fought them with raw fury, his strikes shaking the ground. Every swing of Mjolnir shattered a dozen foes, every stomp of his boots summoned thunderquakes. Bleeding and battered, Thor rose higher into the storm. He raised Mjolnir above his head and whispered a prayer to Odin. The hammer glowed like a newborn sun. With one last cry, for Asgard, he hurled Mjolnir straight into Jörmungandr's skull. The serpent shrieked as the heavens split apart. Lightning cascaded through its body until it exploded in a blinding flash, raining fragments into the seas below. Loki screamed, but before he could escape, Thor seized him by the throat. "Brother, your tricks end today." And with a final surge of lightning, Loki was cast into chains, bound in unbreakable runes. Asgard lay in ruins, but the storm was gone. The people looked to Thor not just as their protector, but as their king. The god of thunder had proven once more. No shadow, no serpent, no trickster could ever silence the storm. In the pantheon of Asgard, few are as revered and feared as Thor, the god of thunder. But what if the god of thunder was taken down by his own brother? Welcome to my channel. And today, let's find out how Loki unleashed the wrath of the storm god, the Great Storm. A catastrophic storm was engulfing Asgard, whipped up by winds so fierce that they threatened to tear the realm asunder. At its heart was a colossal serpent whose form wove through the maelstrom, its scales the color of storm clouds, its eyes burning with unholy fire. This was Jörmungandr, the world serpent, the embodiment of chaos and destruction. It writhed and roared, its every movement shaking the foundations of Asgard. And at its command was Loki, the god of mischief, who had unleashed this terror upon their home. With a wicked grin, he urged the serpent forward, reveling in the fear and destruction it caused. But then, through the tempest, a figure emerged, one who dared defy the raging elements and challenge the serpent's wrath. It was Thor, the god of thunder, his face grim, his eyes flashing with determination. He raised his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, and roared defiance at his treacherous brother. In that instant, the battle began. Thor faces Jörmungandr charged into the fray, his hammer sending bolts of lightning crashing down upon the serpent. Each strike shook Jörmungandr, but the serpent seemed unfazed, its immense size allowing it to shrug off Thor's initial attacks. And, as if in answer to Thor's assault, Loki commanded the serpent to strike. Jörmungandr reared back and lashed out, its massive coils crushing Thor, stealing his breath. Thor struggled against the constricting coils, his vision blurring as the serpent tightened its grip. But even in the face of such a powerful foe, Thor refused to yield. With a Herculean effort, he broke free, staggering back to his feet. His armor was dented, his face pale, but his spirit unbroken. But Jörmungandr was not finished. Drawing closer, it loomed over Thor, its eyes blazing with triumph. But just as it prepared for the final strike, Thor struck first, sending tremors through the serpent's coils. Jörmungandr recoiled, surprised by Thor's resilience. In that moment of distraction, Thor unleashed his full power, and the serpent finally faltered. God of Thunder awakens. As Jörmungandr faltered, Thor found his opening. With a roar that echoed the thunder, he spun Mjolnir, not as a hammer, but as a living vortex of lightning. The serpent recoiled, its form momentarily disrupted by the maelstrom of thunder. Seizing this chance, Thor lunged forward, his hammer arcing through the air in a dazzling display of divine power. Mjolnir struck Jörmungandr's jaw, sending shockwaves that reverberated through the serpent's entire being. Jörmungandr roared in pain and anger, thrashing about, trying to dislodge the hammer from its grasp. But Thor held firm, his grip on Mjolnir unwavering. With a mighty heave, he pulled the hammer back, gathering his strength for the final blow. Epic battle. As Jörmungandr writhed in pain, Loki realized he had miscalculated. Thor was not one to be so easily subdued. In a last-ditch effort to turn the tide, he unleashed an army of shadow warriors, each a manifestation of fear and despair, summoned from the dark realm of hell. These creatures were immune to Thor's thunderous attacks, forcing the god of thunder to switch tactics. With a battle cry, Thor shattered the warriors' ranks, his every blow shaking the very ground beneath their feet. Yet for all his power, Thor could not defeat an army that seemed endless. They swarmed him, forcing him back towards Jörmungandr, hoping to crush him between the serpent's jaws. But Thor was more than their match. Whirling Mjolnir, he carved a path of destruction through the ranks of the shadow warriors, their screams echoing in the maelstrom. The final strike, with the shadow warriors dispatched, Thor turned his attention back to Jörmungandr and to his brother Loki, who was directing the serpent's attacks from a safe distance. In that moment, Thor knew what he had to do. Taking a deep breath, he channeled the power of Odin, his father, the All-Father, the source of wisdom and strength for all of Asgard. With a voice that boomed like rolling thunder, he hurled Mjolnir, not as a weapon, but as a missile of pure, unadulterated energy. The serpent reared back, sensing the raw power of the All-Father surging through the hammer. Before it could react, Mjolnir slammed into its skull. The impact was cataclysmic, the force of it sending shock waves that rippled across the realms. A blinding explosion of light and thunder engulfed Jörmungandr, obliterating the serpent's form and shattering the illusions woven by Loki's magic. Loki's defeat, with Jörmungandr destroyed, the last of Loki's forces crumbled, leaving the god of mischief exposed and alone. Thor, his face grim, approached his brother, his grip tightening around Mjolnir. Loki, his usual swagger gone, tried to flee, but Thor was too quick. In a flash, he had him surrounded, with runes of binding, ancient symbols of power that glowed with celestial light. With a final surge of strength, Thor pressed the runes into Loki's form, binding him hand and foot with chains that glowed brightly. The god of mischief struggled, but the runes held firm, his chaos magic unable to penetrate the divine symbols. Thor had won, but the victory was not without cost. Asgard was battered and bruised, a testament to the ferocity of the storm. But it was whole, its people safe, and that was what mattered most. Victory and aftermath. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled, and the echoes of thunder faded, the people of Asgard emerged from their homes, shaken but unharmed. The scars on the landscape were stark reminders of the battle that had raged. Yet there was a palpable sense of relief in the air. Thor, his face etched with weariness, stood amidst the ruins, his hammer Mjolnir resting at his side. Though battered, he had fulfilled his duty, protecting his home and his people. Asgard was safe, for now. The threat of Loki and the world serpent Jörmungandr had been vanquished, or so they thought. Little did they know that the seeds of chaos had been sown, waiting for the right moment to bloom once more. But that's a story for another day. For now, Thor stood as the hero of Asgard, the god of thunder whose roar could shake the very foundations of the cosmos. A protector and a future king whose courage and strength would echo through the ages. Because, no matter how dark the clouds become, no matter how fierce the storm may rage, the god of thunder will always rise, proving that some forces are simply too powerful to be silenced.